All right. So today we're doing chapter 6, lesson 2, 7th grade math. This is pretty much the inverse of what lesson 1 was. Okay? Lesson 1, we dealt with simplifying algebraic equations. Again, how do we simplify an algebraic equation? Who can tell me what the point of simplifying an algebraic equation is? What do I need to do? What is your end goal for that? Why are we isolating the variable? Okay, who can tell me based on last lesson what that is called? It's got a term. When you find out what the variable equals, it is our what? It is our solution. So we are looking for the solution. We're looking for what x equals. So example here would be 2 plus x equals 7. What does x have to equal, ladies and gentlemen? Now you guys know this because you just look at it mentally, right? But we learned last lesson that you have to isolate the variable. So we do inverse operations. Based on previous knowledge, we remember the equal signs like a mirror. If you raise your hand in a mirror, your reflection also raises its hand. So when I subtract 2 from this side, it cancels out. And then I have to do subtract 2 here. X will equal 7 minus 2, which will be, everybody? 5. And then if I plug that back in, let me plug that back in. This would be 5. 2 plus 5 equals 7, yes? So it makes the statement true. You're basically trying to figure out what is the value for the variable that will make the statement true. So today we're dealing with the exact same thing, only we're dealing with multiplication and division. You gotta ask her me. So we're going to start off with the division property of equality first. So yesterday we talked about, or not yesterday, 2 days ago we talked about the multiplication or the addition and subtraction property of equality. So an example here would be 2x equals 16. Now you guys all can tell what x that needs to equal by looking at it, right? Keep it to yourself. What do I need to do in order to solve this? On both sides. So remember, we look at our variable, we identify our variable, and that's x. We define what is happening to the variable. It's being multiplied by 2. In order to undo it, we do the inverse operation. The opposite of multiplication, ladies and gentlemen, is? So if I divide this by 2, that cancels out. And I have to divide the other side by 2 as well. And that is what is the division property of equality. That states when the two sides of an equation remain equal when you divide each side by the same non-zero number. I said that one boldly because that needs to be in your notes. It's not like all the other properties where, it's just if you add to this side, you add to that side, you subtract to this side, you subtract to that side. If you multiply by this side, you multiply by that side. It's the same property minus the fact that it cannot be 0. Who knows why it cannot be 0? You can't divide by 0. So this needs to be part of your definition for sure. So again, division property of equality states that the two sides of an equation remain equal when you divide each side by the same non-zero number. Or what you can say is you divide each side by the same number except 0. 0 cannot be the number that is divided because you cannot divide by 0. This is the only one out of the 4 that has that special rule. So if this is on your test or your quiz and you don't put in the fact that it can't be 0 or don't put in the part where it says non-zero number, it will be wrong. So if you give me the answer, division property of equality states that the two sides of an equation remain equal when you just divide both sides by the same number, you're wrong. Because you have to put in that little part of that number can't be 0. Are we all clear on this? So very important that you highlight, and I'm going to highlight that portion, non-zero. That needs to be part of it. Again, you can put in non-zero or you can put in any number except 0. Any questions so far? All right, so let's do an example. 30 equals 6x. This is pretty simple. 30 equals 6 times x. What do I need to do first, ladies and gentlemen? I said ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Variable, it's being multiplied by 6. I'm going to undo it by dividing by 6, and I have to do it to the other side. That will cancel out. X will equal whatever 30 divided by 6 is, which is what, ladies and gentlemen? And if I plug this back in, 6 times 5 equal 30. And then we're all good. Pretty simple, right? Okay, now we're going to change it up and not make it so simple. Because the thing that I know that all three classes have issues with are negatives and positives. So, with your group, solve this one. Go. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, so in order to solve this, what was my very first step? Not by 6. Okay, so remember, this is negative 6a. So I have to divide them both by the same number. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. That will cross out, so a will be by itself. But then I have 36 divided by negative 6, and I put the emphasis on the negative. What will that become? I'm looking for people's hands that have not been called on today. Angelo. 36 divided by negative 6 will be? Negative 6. Remember, when you have a positive and you divide by a negative, the answer will be negative. Same rules with multiplication, remember? A negative times a positive equals? Okay, positive times a negative equals? Negative times a negative equals? So, take the same rules for division. If you have a positive divided by a negative, the answer will be, ladies and gentlemen, positive divided by a negative will be? If I have a negative divided by a positive, it will be? Okay, so listen. Okay, let's reset. If I have a negative number divided by a positive number, what will that answer be? Negative. If I have a positive number divided by a negative number, that answer will be? So, negative divided by positive equals negative. Positive divided by negative will equal what, ladies and gentlemen? Negative still. So a negative number divided by a positive number is negative. A positive number divided by a negative number is negative. A negative divided by a negative equals positive. And then, of course, positive divided by a positive will equal positive. I'll write it down a lot nicer. Give me a second. So same rules apply. Multiplication, division, these are the same rules. So if you have a negative multiplied or divided by a positive, the answer is what, ladies and gentlemen? Negative. If I have a positive multiplied or divided by a negative, my answer is negative. If I have a negative multiplied or divided by another negative, my answer is positive. And then you should all know that positive divided or multiplied by another positive, the answer is still positive. So, if there's a negative number involved, and the other one's positive, doesn't matter which way, the answer will be negative. If two negative numbers are involved, then they cancel each other out and it'll become positive. This will be on the recording. So, we're moving on. All right, let's move on to the next terminology here, and that is the multiplication property of equality. The multiplication property of equality states that two sides of an equation remain equal if you multiply each side by the same number. So an example here would be this. Let me give you guys an example. Let's say y divided by 3 equals 9. Okay? What is my variable? Y. What is happening to my variable? being divided by. So in order to undo this, I need to use, ladies and gentlemen, it's being divided by 3. What operation do I undo division? So I'm going to multiply it by 3. This here is an example of the multiplication property of equality. Again, it states that two sides of an equation remain equal if you multiply each side by the same number. So again, this basically is used to undo division problems. When I multiply each side by 3, these will cancel out. Y will equal whatever 9 times 3 is, which is what, ladies and gentlemen? 27. And that's it. Now, let me give you guys an example where things may be a little different. Let's say 25 divided by x equals 5. Now, this is one of those rare examples. What is my variable? Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening to my variable? No, it's not. So, normally when we go over these examples, the variable is having something happen to it. When the variable is doing something to another number, this is going to be a two-step equation. So, first things first. So, basically, let me put it in kid speak. Let's relate it to school. 25 is being picked on by x. So, if I need to stop that, who do I need to move? Someone said it. Who do I need to move? No. X. I need to move x out of the way. I can't move 25 because 25 is a thing it's happening to. What do I do to undo 25 being divided by x? I can't. So I have to undo 25 being divided by x, which means I need to multiply both sides by x. So the variable is going to be moved. That goes away. This side times x. I know I'm using two x's. Dot x times x. So this will now become 25 equals 5 times x, which is another way of writing, instead of writing 5 times x, I'm going to write what, ladies and gentlemen? 5x. But my variable is now not by itself, right? This is why I say it's 2 steps. That was step 1. Now what am I doing? Jade and E? So notice in this example, I'm using 2 different properties. This is the multiplication property of equality, right there. And now I'm using the what, ladies and gentlemen? Someone said it. Say it out loud. I'm using the division property of equality here. So this is a 2-stepper. These will cancel out. What's 25 divided by 5, ladies and gentlemen? So x equals 5. If this were on your test or your quiz, you'd have to show all of these steps. You can't just look at it and know, well, 25 divided by 5 is 5, so I'm just going to write 5. I need to see your work. So, yes, the same rules apply. We need to isolate the variable. But when the variable, this needs to be in your notes, when the variable is the one causing the issue, the variable needs to be moved first. You cannot just move the other number. You need to move the variable first. So I'm going to give you guys an easier example here that has to deal with addition and subtraction. So we're going to do this. Alex, pick a number. A big number. Pick like a 2-digit number.
69. 82.
There we go. You know it was recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 82 minus y, we're going to pick a different one, equals, Sharon, give me a number. Okay, 24. I can't move the 82. I mean, technically I could, but it's going to make life a lot harder. The variable is y, and the variable doesn't have something happening to it, right? The variable is happening to 82. So, in this case, I would move the variable plus y on both sides. This would become 82 equals 24 plus y. And now I can subtract the 24 from both sides. Remember, yes, 24 is being added to y, but remember, what property states that I can switch them up? Ladies and gentlemen? Commutative property. So this is the same thing as writing it as y plus 24. So now y is having something done to it. And I subtract 24 from both sides. Y will equal whatever 82 minus 24 is. And you guys are going to do this. 2 minus 4, can't do. Need to borrow. What's 12 minus 4, everybody? 8. And what's 7 minus 2? So x would equal 58. Because then you're going to have negative y. And then that's something you guys struggle with. I can do that. But can you solve this? I can totally do this. Minus 82. But now you need to remember that it's not just y by itself. It's negative y by itself. Because you were supposed to subtract y from it. So it would be negative y equals whatever this is. And then have fun after that. You can do it that way if you want. But it's just easier to keep the variable positive and just move the numbers over. So remember, be careful when you read your questions. Make sure your questions are, written to where the variable is the one having something happen to it. And if it's not, then you move the variable first and it becomes a 2-stepper or a 3-stepper. All right. Let's do this. My variable has something happening to it, right? Something's happening to my variable in this example, yes? Okay, what is happening to my variable, ladies and gentlemen? So ladies and gentlemen is just Jaden E. What is happening to the variable, ladies and gentlemen? So in order to undo that, I'm going to, everyone, by -3. So I'm going to multiply this side by -3. I got to do that to the same thing on the other side. Y will equal -8 times -3. What is -8 times -3, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, quiet hands then. -8 times -3. What will that be, Olivia? -8 times -3. Hang on. Okay, she's got it. There you go. So y equals positive 24. All right, you and your group, this is going to be another pause moment in the video. You guys are going to solve this one first, and then you'll solve the next one. So I'm going to pause it here. All right, so now that you had a chance to work on m divided by 5 equals -7, I need a group to tell me what they did. Go. Okay. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5 to undo. So this gets canceled out. M will now equal -7 times 5. Jaden. Which is what, back group? -7 times 5 is? -35. Remember on these types of questions, on the test, I was really lenient. And there was like one question where almost everyone got it wrong. And I was lenient and I drew in the negative for you. From now on, not going to be. So if you give me 35 as the answer, not -35, I'm marking you wrong. All right. And then we're going to work on this one together because you guys clearly did not do well working on your own. 30 equals b divided by -6. What's my first step? Jaden. You raised your hand. Okay, so I'm multiplying both sides by -6. These will cancel out. What is 30 multiplied by -6? Say again. So b needs to equal -180. Again, when you multiply a number like 30 by 6, You can literally just annex a 0. What's 6 times 3, everybody? 18. Annex the 0, putting it to the end, and add the negative, so it's negative 180. And that's it. Okay. And that is basically the whole lesson for lesson 2. Your guys' homework is 20 questions long. You need to show all of your work. Are we clear? All right, so it's the end of this video.